And we are live for episode 4, P&B College Football episode 4. Mr. Paisley, it's great to have you. What an insane week of college football.
Yeah, Case. I've been better. Not feeling the best. Was almost going to take a PTO day because of what happened over the weekend to a particular team in Indiana. But, we survived. The season goes on, even though thrown in the towel with my favorite team for the rest of the year, but that's why there's 133 other teams to bet on and look at. So we'll get to that later. But yeah, crazy weekend with not a great slate last weekend, but had some great games last weekend.
That's right. And Jared, don't forget expanded playoff. It's all anything's possible in this world.
Not fine. I won't go undefeated the rest of the way. You don't have to worry about that.
I don't really blame you. Okay, so might as well just start off quick. Here's the rundown for today, week 2 recap. We'll just get into our bets, then we'll go into our winners and losers of week 2. We'll do a quick week 3 preview, and then towards the end of the episode, we'll get through our bets, which will also have a special parlay of the week that you guys could check out. So this is our card from week 2. Not that great, to say the least. Much better week 1. This week went 6-6. Jared, I think, went a little below 500. Those records at the top are our overalls. So still slightly above 500 as a page, I think 28 and 27. Good news is we are 4-0 in locks.
Locks are hot, baby. The locks are hot. Didn't hit much this past weekend, but I did hit my big one with the over in the Oregon game. Had to wait till 10 p.m., but locks are staying hot.
I did hit the under in the Arizona State, Mississippi State game. So that was a good one. I got some of my overs and unders. I had Illinois, but certainly some wrong reads there. Not sure. Worst one was probably North Carolina State. Should have saw that one coming. I just kind of bought in to that. I thought on a neutral field, NC State would play better than they did week 1. I definitely overhyped them a little bit. Georgia Tech was another one that I kind of bought in probably a little at the wrong time. Kyle McCord played really well for Syracuse to get that win and that cover. But it's a lot of positives. Got Nebraska -6. We did call that. I know, Jared, you were pretty high on Iowa State. Not only did they cover, but they got the win outright. So definitely some pros to take away. Still hovering around 50%, and we're hoping to fix that here in week 3 and get a little bit more above 50.
Yeah. One of my favorite ones, just want to shout it out, the Oklahoma State, Arkansas over, noon o'clock. There was not a lot going on the whole game. Fury of points in the fourth quarter, goes into overtime, pushes it over in the first overtime. So awesome game. That was a fun over to cash early on the day.
That was a good one. That was a crazy game to watch too. So I'm looking at it right now. That's 29 wins, 27 losses on the season right now, which includes week 1 and week 2. That's a 52% win rate. So even with our below 500 this week, thankfully, we were strong enough week 1 to keep that above 500. So with that being said, might as well jump right into our week 2 recap. A lot of games to go over. We'll try to keep this one under an hour per usual, but we could just start off with the biggest game really of the week, Texas all over Michigan. I mean, Texas just looks like a national champion contender. We know what Michigan did last year, but they lost a lot of guys. I thought Michigan had a real shot in this game beforehand. I thought at home, maybe Texas was going to be a little overhyped, but they just went in there, took control, dominated really the whole game. Quinn Ewers looks like a real Heisman contender, and Texas just completely dominated really for 4 quarters.
Yeah, this was got to give a lot of props to Texas. I think we were, as a podcast, selling them a little bit at the beginning of the year. We thought they lost too much, but this team might be better, which is crazy to think from last year's team. Quinn Ewers looks a lot better. He looks way more comfortable. The defense at least improved now. We'll get to Michigan, but they are pretty terrible, I think, on the offensive side of the ball. But I was really impressed with Texas offensive line, really controlling that game against a really good Michigan D-line. And again, on the Michigan side, I was really disappointed. I thought that defense would be a lot better. I think they have a ton of holes. They don't have a lot of depth, don't have a lot of bodies like they did last year. They kind of got pushed around their home turf there. I really thought it'd be a tighter game, lower scoring game, but So I think both things could be true at the same time. I'm really impressed with Texas. That was a great win, but I think, oh God, Michigan was a lot worse than we ever could have thought. I think they're maybe a 7-8 win team this year.
Yeah, no, a lot of people are saying that that they may only win 8-9 games at this point. Certainly a disappointing performance at home too, in front of your home crowd. Everybody was there from College Game Day to Barstool, and disappointing performance by Michigan all around. But yeah, as you said, I think we were definitely low on Texas this year. The national kind of landscape was high on Texas, so we were a little too low on them. They do look like they could compete really with Georgia. I mean, Georgia, Ohio State look like the best teams in the country right now. Oregon, we'll get to them, but not so much really in that category that we've seen yet. So huge win for Texas.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're up there with Georgia and Ohio State, I think, for right now. And the good thing is they get to play each other, Georgia, Texas later on in the year. Texas has Oklahoma coming up too, which is always a fun game. So still a lot of tests left on Texas' schedule, but a huge, big statement win on the road.
Yeah, that'll be great. Game later in the season, Texas and Georgia. So got Oklahoma State hanging on in a thriller versus Arkansas. Arkansas was leading most of this game. I think they were up 21-7 at the half. They were a pretty big underdog going into that. Oklahoma State, some people were picking to win the Big 12. They certainly didn't look like a conference champion in this game. Some people were picking Arkansas to finish last in the SEC, actually, with Mississippi State and Vandy. So Arkansas, a lot of good things to take away. They made a lot of mistakes, though, in the second half and towards the end of that game. But what a great game between these two teams.
Yeah, it took more away from Arkansas in this game. I was really impressed. I kind of wanted to see how they were. I wasn't too high on them this year, but the quarterback, Green from Boise State, he played last year, really impressed. He was throwing the ball all over the place. He was more of a runner at Boise State, but now if he could add that element of the pass game, they have some nice talent at Arkansas. Just tough to put it all together in the SEC when you're playing those teams week in, week out. But I was very impressed with Arkansas. Even in a loss, it's you could still take away a lot of positives from it. So I think Arkansas might be a team to look at to maybe if they're getting a lot of points against some of these way better SEC teams, maybe they can hang around. But really impressed with Arkansas in this game.
Yeah, no, they looked really good, and definitely almost got a big win on the road. Would have been huge for them. And yeah, I'm looking now. Taylor Green, 26 completions, 416 yards. So pretty strong day by him in that one. Well, I guess we could get into the topic that really nobody wants to discuss on this podcast except for me. Notre Dame, not good, Mr. Paisley. I'll let you take the lead on this one, but we'll get to the whole landscape as a whole. But tough, big loss at home against Northern Illinois.
Yeah, I mean, I did not think this game was going to reach the talking points after playing NIU, but here we are because of Notre Dame's big collapse. I don't want to be hyperbolic, but that probably was the most embarrassing loss that I've ever been a fan of and saw in a game. 28.5 point favorites. I could go on for hours on this, so I'll try and keep it shorter for the fans at home. They don't want to hear me ramble. But I think
rants. People like rants. So I don't mind.
But I think just one thing to take away was just I'm still trying to wrap my head around. I don't get how they looked so good that week one. The hype was there. The defense played well, shut down Texas A&M on the road. Offense did enough, didn't look great. And then just to look that drastically different in week two is I've never seen anything like that. Like if that was their first game of the year and that's how they came out, but just to have those two performances back to back really makes no sense to me. I've never seen this on any sport. So really mind-boggling, but I mean, all in all, got to give credit to NIU. They did play really good. I watched every play of that game. They deserved to win that game. Even if Notre Dame was trying to come back at the end, the refs were trying to help them with some calls. If they would have made that 63-yarder at the end, NIU still should have won that game. They outplayed them the entire game. They had a good game plan. I think Notre Dame just wasn't prepared. I don't think they practiced or game planned all week for NIU. So I think they were just a little bit overhyped, myself included. This is what happens when I get too high on my favorite teams. I should have known better. This was the first time in about 10 years that I actually, or maybe 15 since Brady Quinn was there, that I actually liked Notre Dame going into a year. So I think the the football gods definitely humbled us. But I mean, a lot of people want to make the last point, but a lot of people want to make it about the quarterback and, it's always the quarterback or head coach's fault. There's a lot wrong. I think with anything, there's a lot of problems. It's not just one person or one group. Yes, the quarterback play was terrible yesterday with Riley Leonard. The interception with 3 minutes left was you cannot make that mistake. The offensive line's terrible. He didn't have a lot of time. They couldn't push around and get a run game going against NIU. How are you going to do that against anybody else in the country? The receivers can't get separation. The backs are good. They just don't give them the ball enough. I thought the play calling, they should have been a little more run heavy. And then defensively, they looked great against Texas A&M, and NIU put up better numbers than Texas A&M. So the defense doesn't get a pass here too. They got run on all over the place, and NIU had a great game plan. They kept the ball away from Notre Dame, shrunk the possessions down. But there's a lot of blame to go around. They got to get a better run defense. They were getting pushed around defensively from NIU, so a lot of cause for concern. This has not been the first for Marcus Freeman. I'm a big Marcus Freeman guy. I love him, but it's hard to back him up when you have a loss like this. You had the Stanford loss as 14-point favorites last year, and then the Marshall loss 2 years ago as 21-point favorites. So I cannot feel comfortable going into a game now unless they're supposed to win by 30 points, 35 points. Like, I don't know what the number has to be. So just very scary that they could do this and beat a top 15 team on the road in a crazy environment, but then they come back to the home field, have everything going for them, and then they lose as 20.5-point favorites. So it's just the inconsistency is a massive, massive issue. And we'll see how the rest of the season plays out. It's good they still have 10 games left to play, but if they stumble up, and I think this loss really could derail them the rest of the year because it was that shocking and that crazy. You could be talking about a 7-5, 8-4, then then you start turning backwards. You're losing recruits. So hopefully it's just a blimp on the radar, and they could at least salvage the rest of the season, and see what happens. But an absolutely embarrassing and big collapse from Notre Dame.
Yeah, that was bad, and that's really my only thing on that. It's tough, and I think we're going to get into this. As we know, there was a lot of nationally struggles across the country on Saturday. It wasn't just Notre Dame. Notre Dame was the one that ended up losing to the game, the game at home, a heavy favorite. But yeah, I mean, that was a big upset, a historic, win for Northern Illinois and them, and meant a lot to that coach. I'm sure everybody saw the clip that went viral. More of a really big win for them. But yeah, Notre Dame, it's tough at home, beating Texas A&M the week before, huge win, emotional win. People are really starting to feel it, and then just absolute shocking, on nobody's radar. I don't think that one was. So crazy win for Northern Illinois, and hey, they're now in the top 25. If that makes you feel any better, so the Huskies are now ranked. I don't know how long that will last, but Northern Illinois is number 25 in the country in the latest AP poll.
That was just more a slap in the face to put them at 25, but love it for the Huskies. I hope they go undefeated. Then maybe it would be a good loss at the end of the year. We don't know. Maybe NIU is a top 20, top 15 team. I mean, we'll touch on this later, but the MAC conference making a big statement this weekend. But I mean, I think just one last point, like, you got to be able to handle success too. I think Marcus is still very young in his tenure. Some of these younger coaches, it's easy when you're the underdog and you're fighting and scrapping, but when you actually have success and you have a big win, you also got to be able to handle that. And I think they just didn't prepare. You got to blame on the coaching staff, because there was something wrong that happened between a 10 on the road versus a 2-point loss at home between weeks 1 and 2. And like, we'll talk about this with other teams, like some of the other teams we'll touch on here in a little bit, but you got to find a way to win the game. I don't care how big of a point spread. We'll talk about some of these games, but they found ways to win. And that's all you got to do in college football. Win the game, squeak by, move on to the next week. These losses are so paramount and so crushing. So we'll get into the other teams here, like Penn State, Bama, Oklahoma, and Oregon, but they found a way to win. They played terrible, but they found a way to win. That's important, and Notre Dame has to get better at that and just winning these games. I know you don't look good. You got to come out with the win.
Exactly. And, I was there on Saturday watching Penn State struggle against Bowling Green for 3.5 quarters, and, also same conference as Northern Illinois, the MAC. And like Northern Illinois, Bowling Green had 32 seniors on their team. These are guys that have been there a long time playing together. I mean, Penn State was on the ropes for 3 quarters. Their offense kind of was able to get over the hump and help them score and and score late, a couple big runs late and a couple big completions. But I mean, if the ball bounces the wrong way, that game could have ended very similarly to Notre Dame and not win that game. Also big home favorite. I think it was 34 when that one closed for Penn State. So who knows where they're going to be at. They're off this week. They go into then Kent State, who is not a good MAC team, but who knows? I mean, at this point, I don't know what's a good MAC team versus not a good MAC team, but Penn State struggled, squeaked out. Alabama struggled for 58 minutes. That score does not, I don't care about what happened. That they were losing, or maybe they were up by a point in the fourth quarter. I mean, it was 14-13. I remember watching that, and they did not look good for most of that game. Oklahoma was on the ropes against Houston. Really could have lost that one. And like you said, Oregon, who we kind of touched on last week against Idaho, scraped out. Didn't want to raise too many alarms. It's week one jitters. We got a whole season to play. But once again, just playing around with Boise State for 4 quarters took them, as we talked about right before the podcast, 2 major returns to win that game. One of them towards the end of the game. I mean, this is a crazy year, chaotic year. And I'm going to toss it to you here quick, but I'll just end with this note is I think it just shows that, no matter what the spreads are in some of these games, you can't take anything for granted. I mean, it's just at this point now, we've seen so many big upsets from over the years, and with Appalachian State and Notre Dame this year. And I remember being at the Appalachian State Penn State game a few years ago in overtime, and you just see it every year. There's just stunners. And, the hype gets to you really quick about, we're talking about playoffs and we're talking about the conference championships, but, you can't take any of these weeks for granted. And I think, we're seeing that more now than ever with, I don't know if it's NIL. I don't know if it's because the MAC's filled with players that seem to be there longer. Maybe that's part of it. They're just playing some of the best football. But I mean, I'm just looking now, at their standings. I mean, they have a pretty decent, legit conference. I mean, it's fun to watch. I know it sucks for, when you're a fan of the Power 5 schools, but it's going to be a really fun conference to watch all year, and just insanity, really, in week 2.
Yeah, it kind of has a little March Madness feel to it, doesn't it? Like these huge upsets that people have no idea are coming. So I think it's fun. Like you said, that was going to be my point. It's fun for the viewer. Just hopefully your team's not on the losing end of it. But it is very fun. I think it'll make these games. Who would have thought Penn State Bowling Green would be going down to the wire, and you could turn on at noon and, have that game being one of the tightest games in the noon slot. So, and then, just touch on a couple like Oregon. That guy dropped the ball in front of the end zone too on one of the kick returns that they had. So, and they didn't see it, and they didn't call it back. So they got very lucky. There's a ton of problems in Oregon. I don't know what's going on. Big game this week in the Civil War against Oregon State. But if they don't get it turned around this week against Oregon State, I don't know. That's a huge drop-off. And then just to put a bow on this whole topic here, I think the transfer portal and then the newness of the changing of coaches and quarterbacks all around college football is playing a factor in this. I think all these teams like Bama, Penn State, Notre Dame all have new offensive play callers, new quarterbacks in Notre Dame sense. But new systems they're trying to implement, new offensive, motives that they want to do, trying to get to see what's the right fit and stuff. And then you end up, you want results early on in college football, but sometimes the system's not there yet. I saw someone, I was reading articles that Mike Denbrock from LSU 2 years ago was with Jaden Daniels, and the first year was terrible. They didn't really do much. It was a tough year. Second year, he wins the Heisman in his system. So that's just one example, but sometimes it does take time. And for some of these colleges that we talked about here, it is just a little clunky early on, and maybe that's why we're getting some of this with all the changing of the guard at coaching staffs, the new rosters, the new transfer portals and stuff. So that could be it. But at the end of the day, still got to find a way to win, and still got to work out those kinks, even though you're in close games.
Yeah, it's going to make the 12-team race really exciting to watch. We'll move on, but I'll just throw Utah in that category too, playing around with Baylor. Should have probably lost that game, could have lost. I know Utah's not the powerhouse maybe that we thought preseason, like some of the other teams we just talked about that struggled, but who's going to win the Big 12? If Oklahoma State could barely squeak by Arkansas and all these teams don't look great, I mean, neither did Utah. I mean, 23-12 against a not really good Baylor team. So I don't know what's going on in that conference, but I don't know. It's crazy. Iowa State waves goodbye to Iowa. I don't know if you like what I did there, but huge win for the Cyclones on the road at Iowa. I had the over. It just hit at the end of that game. So huge win there for myself in the over. But big win for Iowa State. They don't go there and win often, and they looked like a decent team. I was just hating on the Big 12. Maybe Iowa State is the team to win the Big 12 at this point.
Yeah, huge win for Iowa State. I watched this game very intently in the first half, and Iowa looked dominant the whole time. They were crushing them in the run game. Iowa State couldn't get anything going offensively, and I think they took a lead 13-0 in the half. And I was thinking at the time, like, oh, Iowa should be up a little more. They should be up a little more. They missed some chances. And then I had to spend a little more energy on the Notre Dame game. Hopefully that's the last time we bring it up in the second half, so I didn't get to watch much of the Iowa State-Iowa second half. I kind of had it on a side TV. I just kept seeing them inching. I'm like, okay, they're covering. And then next thing you know, they had a field goal to win the game. And I'm like, how did that happen? So crazy win for Iowa State. Never giving up. Just keep charging through. But that's a huge, huge win for Iowa State.
Big win for them. They'll be fun to watch now throughout their journey in the Big 12, and really a crushing loss to Iowa. I know, the expectations weren't extremely high, but you always want to win a rivalry game at home early in the season. And man, they really had it locked up, like you were saying. I forget what the halftime score was, but they looked they looked like they were in full control of that first half. And then Iowa State just came out fighting in the second half to get the win.
It was a perfect Iowa game. It was low scoring a lot, and they usually win those games. So that was very surprising to see them lose at their own game like that.
Sticking in the Big Ten, big win for Illinois at home against a ranked Kansas team. Luke Altmaier, I don't know if he really looked that great. I don't know what he passed for, maybe like 150 yards. Yeah, I'm looking now, 192. So, okay, we'll give him some credit. But Illinois doing enough, really looked like a Big Ten football game, even though Kansas was there. And this is a great win for Illinois, and I'm excited for them for that. But I'd say it's honestly exciting a little bit for Kansas too, because Kansas had the field rushed against them for maybe the first time in maybe my lifetime. I mean, who would have thought? I remember a few years ago, Kansas was like 1-11 or 0-12, and they were not only the laughing stock of college football, but we were talking about just getting rid of Kansas, getting them completely out of the college football. They were so bad. And here they are now ranked on the road, nations watching. And yes, they lost. And I know if you're a Kansas fan, I know it sucks. You could have won this game. You probably should have won it. Maybe you're better, but probably not. I think Illinois outplayed them really. But you got the field rush against you. So, have some respect. It was a great game, and good for Kansas and Illinois. I think this two teams here should be proud about something.
Yeah, I was going to say they rushed the field after beating Kansas. Got to love it. But yeah, it was really impressive with Illinois. I think they showed out pretty well in the home crowd. Defense forced a lot of turnovers, but I think more of the takeaway was I think Kansas is kind of losing a little luster. I think they had a good seasons like 2 years ago, last year, but now losing that offensive coordinator down to Penn State, I think he might have been the brains of the operation there. Quarterback doesn't look settled. It's just he doesn't look comfortable. So again, a lot of newness they're trying to work out as well. But yeah, Kansas might be selling them, and maybe looking on Friday night they have a game against UNLV. I think UNLV could be live in that game.
Yeah, no, that'll be a good one this upcoming week. So now I guess we'll we're going to stay in the Big Ten for another game. Nebraska is finally back, apparently.
Yeah, I don't know if they're all the way back. I think Colorado is pretty terrible. But yeah, Nebraska looked good. I mean, they looked good. They came out on fire. The crowd was pumped. It's just fun seeing Nebraska playing in some big-time games on NBC. That was a fun late-night game there. And they crushed them. I think the final score could have even been worse, but it was only 28-3 or something like that. So Nebraska, really impressive. Would like to see this continue to go forward once they step up a little bit in class in the Big Ten. But, yeah, Colorado I think they're turning into a mess like we called before the year. I think they had a fun little run there in that week 1 game against North Dakota State that was also close and they could have lost. So their run might be coming to an end.
Yeah. I mean, I've been lower in Colorado for a while, and I'm so glad they got killed. I said they'd get killed. Nebraska killed them, and big win for Nebraska. But yeah, I'm just more excited to finally just see Colorado keep losing. I really hope they lose again this week against Colorado State. I know they're a pretty heavy favorite, a touchdown favorite against Colorado State. We'll get into that. But not sure what's going on there with Shedeur Sanders. He didn't look good. It seems like he's having a slight attitude problem right now. I don't think NFL GMs are really going to be thrilled. So, as much as I'm excited for Nebraska, also it is really just not looking good for Colorado at all at this point. And couldn't happen to a better team, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I want them to be good. It'll be fun for the whole country. So I love the Cornhuskers playing some primetime games.
Get into one or two more things before we jump to week 3. I know we're approaching almost a half an hour already. So Tennessee crushing NC State at the neutral site field there in Charlotte this past weekend. I'll admit I was a little high on North Carolina State. I just thought they were a little bit better. The warning signs were there week 1. Their offense hasn't looked good. But with all that being said about NC State and probably not going to maybe making a run in the ACC at this point if they play like they had the past 2 weeks. Big win for Tennessee. They look like a real contender this year. I know they looked like a contender a couple years ago when they beat Alabama, but this just feels different. Their offense just is clicking more. They just look more well-rounded. They have talent everywhere. And legit contender, in my opinion, in Knoxville.
Yeah, crazy to say that out loud, but I agree. I think coming away from this weekend, Texas and Tennessee really stood out to me and really impressed. So, like we talked about, their offense was going to be good. We knew that going into it. I think they might be better than we thought. But this defense, I think, is stepping up. Now, they played a couple tomato cans, and then North Carolina State did struggle. Their offense wasn't their calling card going into this year, but that quarterback is really struggling from Coastal Carolina. So I would like to see it against a big-time opponent. Again, huge win for Tennessee. Got to give them props. I think the D-line really impressed me. I knew they were good, but I think they're even better. Their front 4, front 7 are really good stopping the run. It's just their secondary. Can the secondary hold up when they play against some of these elite pass offenses? North Carolina State wasn't going to blow you away in the passing game. So I really took away a lot from Tennessee. I'm really impressed with them. I'm with you. I think they could be a true contender for a semifinal, maybe even a championship. Hopefully we're not getting ahead of ourselves and believe in the hype. But yeah, North Carolina State, I still think they'll be okay going forward in the ACC, but they have a lot of stuff to work out. So yeah, I was a little disappointed in the Wolfpack myself.
That's pretty much a wrap on week 2. We're going to do one more segment now. This is going to be a new one. Mr. Paisley and I are going to pick one winner and one loser of the week. We're going to do this moving forward. Just a quick little recap. Could be anything, players, team, coaches, fan bases. I mean, anything in the world that we want. So, Mr. Paisley, I'll kick it to you. I guess we could start with winners. Who is your week 2 winner of the week?
Week 2 winner, we touched on this a little bit, but as a whole, I'm going to go the MAC conference. I really thought they stood out this week, obviously with the big win with Northern Illinois. But like you said, I think they have some really veteran-led, really solid teams that could compete, and maybe these spreads shouldn't be as high as they are. So I think once they get into MAC play, it should be a lot of fun and close games. But everyone was bagging the MAC and all the previews that you would read that they were the worst conference and they were terrible and they're losing all their talent. So I just think props to them. Again, some big-time wins, big-time covers, close in some of these games. So they could be a conference to look out for going forward. And I think the 2 teams that did play good this weekend, Northern Illinois and Bowling Green, they're definitely 1 and 2, I think, in the conference and could be matching up in a MAC championship game. So got to give props to the MAC this weekend.
Yeah. Let me know when that Bowling Green Northern Illinois game is. I'm going to want to watch that one. But yeah, good winner on the MAC conference. I'm going to pivot a little bit back to the Big Ten. I think Illinois is my winner of the week. Big win at home. Brett Bielema has been there a few years. They've kind of been slowly and steadily on the rise. I know Illinois is not a contender or anything like that, but they're kind of just a physical team. They're fun to watch. They have a decent quarterback play right now from Altmaier. Their offensive line is pretty strong. Their defense played well against Kansas, and I don't know where the season's going to go for them, but just that whole atmosphere at home to get a big win against a non-conference. And I know maybe Kansas isn't a top 25 team at this point, but they're ranked. It counts. A big win for Illinois at home. So hopefully they could ride this momentum and finally just start to get back to the Illinois from those mid 2010s when they were hovering in the top 25, able to go into places and, get 8-4, 9-3 seasons. And, maybe at some point with this 12-team playoff, they could get to a point where they're at 9-3. Illinois could be fighting in the teens for a playoff bid. I know I'm speaking way in the advance for just one win against Kansas, but the sky is the limit for Illinois. Big win.
Love it. Fighting Illini, I'm with you. Big win for them this weekend. Hopefully they continue it. My loser of the week, I'm going to go Shedeur Sanders. I thought his comments after the game were just they irked me when he was calling out his offensive lineman. The head coach, his father, did not seem to reprimand his quarterback or say anything negative about his quarterback play. Did everyone see that pick six that he threw in his own end zone with a late throw? It was just a terrible read as a quarterback, and to have that happen, but then just blame your offensive line after the game. That spells a lot of turmoil going on there. I think if those are the guys that are trying to block for you now, if you're pissing them off for you now going forward, I think this could be really, really troubling going forward. But maybe they shirted up in the practices this week. But Shedeur Sanders, like get your head together, man. Like this is crazy. And you're right, it's not good for the NFL scouts. He's talented, but he's not all worldly to be acting like this. Like this is crazy. So those comments just really pissed me off, man. Like, come on, man. Loser of the week, Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, totally agree. Love that pick. Definitely not a good week for them at Colorado as a whole. I am going to stick in the Big Ten. I need to stop picking with the Big Ten with everything I talk about. But Michigan is my loser of the week, and I'm so excited about it because this is with everything from last year, with the taping and the Connor Stallions and the Jim Harbaugh and all these scandals going on and all the arrogant fans. And then this year they're coming and they're saying, we're still Michigan. We're still going to beat Ohio State. The rivalry doesn't exist anymore. The spread's only 7 at home. We're going to beat Texas, this and this. And I've heard from Michigan. That's all I've been hearing about. Well, it is now back to reality in Ann Arbor. Blown out in front of your home crowd. I mean, a blowout at home, 110,000 people, the biggest stadium in the Northern Hemisphere, Jared, sold out, blown out. And it was great to watch fans in tears leaving. Michigan's dead completely. I know one loss, they could win out and they could still make the playoff. It's not going to happen. Michigan is not a good team. They're going to go 8-4 maybe. They don't have a real head coach. He was just put there because he was the guy last year with Jim Harbaugh. The Harbaugh days are gone. Recruits are going to be leaving the transfer portal. And honestly, I'm glad good for them. They got their national championship last year, but not for long because once the NCAA vacates that in probably the next 6 months, Michigan fans could say all day, yeah, we want it. You can't take it away. Well, it's going to have an asterisk on it for probably the rest of history. So loser of the week, Michigan, very excited about it. And hopefully we don't have to give too much more attention for the future of this podcast to the Wolverines.
I guess it's a little harder to win games when you don't know what plays are coming. That's all I got to say. It seems to be a little different this year than last year. So
exactly right.
I'm with you, Case, 100%. Love it, man.
I kind of built this whole section just because I wanted Michigan to be my loser of the week. So anyway, Michigan fans, if any Michigan fans listening, please let us hear it in the comments. More than happy. We're trying to grow the page. We're excited to welcome everybody. All right, we're going on 35 minutes, trying to keep it under an hour. Week 3, not a lot of good games. We'll dive right into it. Number 20, Arizona, who I picked to win the Big 12. I know you're not quite as high on them. Not really sure if I am now either, but I still am. At Kansas State, 7.5-point favorite for Kansas State. I think they're the odds-on favorite to win the Big 12 right now. Over under 59.5. This is a weird game. It's a non-conference game, even though they're two Big 12 teams. This was scheduled before the conference realignment. What's your prediction in this one? This is a Friday night game. Might be the best game of the week on Friday.
Honestly, I agree with you. Could be. I do like Arizona's offense. I think their offense is very good. That McMillan, a wide receiver, is just tearing up defenses. It's crazy. We'll get to a pick maybe later on the show with this game, but K-State did not look that great against Tulane last week. I didn't watch that full game. Definitely had some issues on defense, defending huge chunk plays in the past, and the offense can't really throw the ball, but they could run it still pretty good. But K-State very high. They were, I think, second or first in the Big 12 preseason, so a little troubling. K-State having some issues early on here.
Yeah, Kansas State struggled, I think, 34-27 over Tulane last week. Arizona struggled a little bit, too, against Northern Arizona, I think. So both teams didn't look, overly powerful, but will be a good game. And it's weird. This over-under seems, I don't know, kind of seems a little high to me, 59.5. But I don't know. These are two offenses that can score. We all know with the Big 12 defense. So might get a lot of points in that one. Number 20. State Friday night. Next one, Alabama at Wisconsin. This game could have been maybe the biggest of the week, but Wisconsin's not really impressing too many people at the moment. This is noon Saturday. 16-point favorites for Alabama going on the road. The over-under, I believe I have, is 50.5 in this one, and that is a noon kickoff in Madison. What are you seeing in this one?
Yeah, I think we called this perfectly, at least. We'll see this weekend. But Wisconsin, we were selling stock. We weren't big fans of them. Went under the win total. Alabama we're a little bit higher on. This line is getting out of control. I think it was 9 or 10 in the summer. Now it's up to 16. Some of these line movements for week 3 here are pretty crazy. So do I love laying 16 on the road in a pretty hostile environment in Camp Randall? No, but I'll probably still do it if I pick it. It'll probably be a small play, but I think Alabama's struggles last week were a little concerning too. So I'll probably still be on Alabama here, minus the 16. I'm just not that high on Wisconsin. I don't think they're going to be able to score in this game. So just give me Wisconsin or Alabama scoring in the high 20s, maybe low 30s, and covering this number here.
Yeah, Wisconsin put up 28 against Western Michigan. They put up 27 only against South Dakota. And now they're about to play a defense that's probably 25 times better than those two teams. So will be interesting to see if Wisconsin could score. They are at home, if that means anything. It's always cool to see an SEC team go up north, even though we're in the middle of summer in September. But should be still a good one to see. Alabama at Wisconsin. At least for the aesthetics, it'll be cool to see Alabama go to Wisconsin. Looking forward to that one. Number 16, LSU going to South Carolina. I think game day's there for this one. Might be one of the biggest of the week also, just because we don't really have a strong slate. LSU early loss, slaying 7 points, going on the road to a South Carolina who's kind of impressed people so far. Over under set at 50.5 as well in that one. What do you see there?
Yeah, South Carolina with a sneaky good win last week against Kentucky in Kentucky. So I watched that game as well. That was an impressive win. I was a little bit higher in Kentucky going into the year. I think that's a little wrong. So South Carolina, a huge win for them. The offense didn't really do much in that game, but their defense is pretty solid. So I think they'll be able to keep it close here with LSU. I think everyone knows our thoughts on LSU. I think we're selling stock on them as well. Laying 7 on the road, I just thought this number was a little high. So maybe a medium play on South Carolina. I don't absolutely love it. So I'm just not sure how good their offense is, but I think they'll be able to slow down LSU a little bit. And I think one thing we got to talk about is this LSU offensive line. I think it was supposed to be so good going into the year. Couldn't really get much push against USC. They played Nicholls State and only won by, I think it was 17 or 21, and it wasn't even close to 42 points. And so I think their defense even gave up, I think it was 21 points to Nicholls State. So a lot of issues, again, with most of these teams that we're pointing out here. But, again, LSU kind of flying under the radar after that USC loss, but did not look good again last week. So now you're telling me they got to go on the road, college game day, laying 7? I don't know about that. I'll take South Carolina in that one.
Yeah, no, and that's cool. It's going to be a big game for them. I think there's a lot of rain forecasted in that one. That will be to monitor the weather there, and that one could affect the more so the total probably than the on the field product. Well, there won't be a lot of passes, and we'll see how the running games are. But anyway, just want to note that there. I'm probably with you. I think I lean South Carolina with the points. 31-6 last week against Kentucky, big win for them. So that'll be a fun one to watch. And South Carolina, I want them. I just feel like the sport's kind of better when they're good. It's a cool area to see when they're ranked. Kind of reminds me of Nebraska, just some teams that used to be consistently ranked, and we haven't seen as much action from them lately. So big opportunity for them this weekend.
Yeah, and you think back to Javion Clowney and playing some of those Clemson teams that were really good, the nighttime games. So, yeah, South Carolina would be a great one. And just last point, if LSU cannot run the ball this game, they're going to have some major issues. They just can't get the run game going. You can't be one-dimensional in this sport in football. So I'm really going to be interested. Eyes are going to be locked on this game this weekend. Should be a good one.
Yeah, that is noon on Saturday. Next game we have, we were only supposed to get one top 25 versus top 25 matchup this week, but surprisingly, we now have two because Boston College, Bill O'Brien has slipped in to number 24 BC, just ahead of the 25th ranked Huskies. 24 BC at Missouri. Missouri, 17-point favorites. They're thinking national championship contender down there. No doubt about it. Not going to happen, though. I'll make that claim right now. They will not win that championship. Anyway, 17-point favorites, total set at 53.5. Look, I know it's exciting for BC. You get a couple big wins. You're ranked. You're playing pretty good football, but I don't know. I just feel like I could see Missouri taking control of this game. Maybe I'm wrong on that one, though. What do you think?
Yeah, Missouri looked good. Definitely the first two games, but obviously did not play anybody with a pulse. So this will be a great test for them. I think this will be a great data point. If you hear us talking about data points, like Missouri playing their first 2 weeks isn't a good data point. Now we get to see them go up against a ranked team, somebody that could push them around a little bit, maybe keep it closer. So this will really give you a good data point, good test to see how good this team is. And same for BC. I mean, they look great in Florida State. That was a great data point for them, but now they get to go on the road. I'm back and forth on this one. I think the number got a little too high. I don't love it, but I think at 17, I think BC could maybe keep it close, maybe have a little backdoor at the end. I think their offense could keep them in it. But yeah, I think Missouri's going to score a bunch here, but I think BC could also maybe hang around that 17 mark. I don't think they're alive to win it outright, but I think they can maybe keep it close. But this should be a fun one. This is maybe not one before the season that had a lot of intrigue, but this should be one of the funnest games of the week.
And Missouri hasn't let up a point yet this season. I know they were two teams with no pulse, Murray State and Buffalo. But regardless, shutouts are impressive, I guess. I don't know. Maybe not in this case. But 51-0 against Murray State, 38-0 against Buffalo. Now they take on Boston College. So it will be interesting to see what that Missouri defense, how they do holding up against BC, who was able to move the ball pretty consistently the last couple of weeks, notably against Florida State. Number 9, Oregon, going to Oregon State. Oregon State is always just a fun atmosphere, it seems like. Great fans up there. This is a rivalry game. This is a game that now Oregon leaving for the Big Ten. There's a little bit more bad blood in this one, I think. Usually played late in the season, like you noted, Jared, before the show. Playing here early due to scheduling. This is going to be a good one. I've always liked Oregon State when they knocked off Mark Sanchez and USC, when USC was ranked number 1 in the country in 2008 or whatever. Yeah, it was 2008. That was just a cool scene. They're 16-point dogs in this one. Oregon has struggled week 1 and week 2, so we don't even know what Oregon is. I don't think they're playing their best football. I think that's clear, but this is going to be an interesting game, and I want to pick Oregon State so badly, but I'm just afraid that all of a sudden Oregon's going to turn on the Jets and start playing college football. And, maybe Oregon does run away. That's why I don't think I can make a play here. I think I'm just more looking forward to watching this game. I know this is a betting page, so I don't know what to tell you. Maybe take the over. But Oregon State, exciting to watch at least. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the best advice is just to stay away. If you're not too confident, maybe just staying away is probably, better than losing money. So, but I'm with you here too. I think same thoughts. I'd want to take Oregon State. This number is ballooned out to now 16 because it would make sense of how Oregon looked the last 2 weeks. So are you confident in that, or are you confident that Oregon's going to change it around and turn around and put a whooping on Oregon State here? Oregon State they lost a ton in the portal, obviously, with only being 2 teams in the Pac-12. Nobody wanted to compete for a Pac-12 championship. So their roster is pretty gutted. They looked okay in their first couple games. But again, you're not asking them to win the game or keep it within a single digit, using them to cover the 16. So you're right, rivalry game. These games are usually closer, I feel like, Oregon State. So I would love to take Oregon State confidently, but I'm with you. I think Oregon can maybe just turn it on and just blow them out of the water. But that's what I was banking on last week, and that did not happen. So maybe it's a little revenge bet. I might take Oregon State plus the points.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that. I think I like Oregon State. I'll be rooting for them at least, but not sure if they'll have it done. But we'll see. That'll be a good one. 3:30 on Saturday. Let's stay with Washington State. Similar. We got Big Ten now. Big Ten versus Pac-12's rivalry game here. Usually end of the season, now early in the season. This will be an interesting game. Washington is a 4.5-point favorite. Probably would have been a more heavy favorite week one, but Washington State has been playing pretty good football. I mean, putting up 70, I know, against a nobody, Portland State, but really last week, 37-16 over Texas Tech. Pretty impressive game. This one, they have to go to Washington, but Washington State getting 4.5 in this one, total set at 55. I don't know. I think Washington State has a chance to win this game outright, let alone with the points. We'll see what happens in that one. What are you thinking?
Yeah, this one should be a fun one. I'm with you. I think Washington State's been definitely impressing more than we thought coming into the year. They're also similar to Oregon State. I think they just lost so much turnover, so really relying on the transfer portal. So you weren't expecting big things from them. They did look good. Just a little note on that game last week with Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech is really bad. I think that's a school that used to be good, that used to have some nice programs. I don't know what's going on there. I thought they would have a good year last year. They didn't. This year, they might have the worst defense in Power 4. It is bad. That game was on late last weekend. Maybe look at them in an overplay with North Texas this week because of Tech speaking. So I would like to see now Washington State go up against a real defense. I want to see if it's for real or if it's fake. But I think this game, the Apple Cup, should be interesting. I think it'll be close. I'm leaning more towards Washington, though. I think this line is just a little short. I don't believe the hype in Washington State yet, but this is going to be another fascinating one to watch and get a good data point for both these teams.
Yeah, no, will be definitely a good one. That's 3:30 Saturday. Down to the SEC, Florida at home, taking on A&M. Obviously, A&M losing to Notre Dame there early in the season, and now has another tough road game here going at Florida. Total set at 46.5. We'll talk about this one a little later, but I don't know. I feel like Florida has a real shot in this one, especially with now the question marks with Texas A&M and their offense. I mean, we don't know now what to make of that Notre Dame game, what happened with them this past week. Just kind of a strange game, and I don't know. Florida at home again, another pretty big opportunity, getting 4 points. You don't see that often for them. So big opportunity for Florida on Saturday.
Yeah, I think Texas A&M's offense really has some struggles. They didn't even look good last week. They did not look good against Notre Dame. This is going to be another big test for them. But I'm selling their offense. I don't think they got the right quarterback. Their new coordinator, Colin Klein from Kansas State back in the day, he runs a different style of offense that I don't know fits this team in Texas A&M. I think the defense will be pretty solid. I think they'll be able to keep them in games. Mike Elko at the helm there. But Florida, yeah, was that performance against Miami? That game got out of hand quick. So the players weren't invested in like the second, third, fourth quarter. So they haven't really had a game where they could kind of keep it close and, maybe see what happens later in the game. So I'm with you. I think people are maybe selling Florida a little bit too much. This will be a nice little test to see if they're absolutely dead or do they have a little bit of a pulse. So I know I don't like laying 4 Texas A&M, so I'd probably take it with Florida if I had to play the game here, but maybe would lean under. It's a little bit low, 46.5, but again, should be a fun one in the swamp.
West Virginia -2 going to Pittsburgh. Might be there Saturday. I haven't decided with Penn State on the bye week. Not sure if I want to put myself through this painful game, though. Two teams that really, I don't know if they're all that good. We saw West Virginia's offense has just been struggling. Pittsburgh is just not in a good spot right now. The total, though, set at 63.5. Not sure it has anything to do with the offenses, but more so just the lack of maybe defense. We'll see. This one, 3:30 Saturday. Close spread, though. Practically a pick'em game. West Virginia laying 2 going to Pittsburgh. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I think West Virginia, we kind of mentioned it in the week 1 podcast, but was that Penn State dominating or was that West Virginia being really bad? I think it was a little bit of both. I think West Virginia is even worse than we thought maybe. When these teams struggle multiple weeks now over and over again and against a very small school, that's very troubling. So West Virginia struggled defensively. The secondary is not good at all. Pitt's offense definitely got an upgrade with a new OC coming into this year. This will be a game. It's usually low scoring and ugly, but there might be a lot of fireworks in this one. Maybe, like you said, the defenses are not good. Still very high total. I don't know if I played the over, but I did like West Virginia when I first looked at this game, but I dug into a little bit. And I don't know if I'm going to play Pitt. I might just be on the fence with this one, but maybe a slight lean to West Virginia. Maybe they'll turn around this game.
And that one's 3:30 Saturday. I agree with most of your points there. Colorado laying 7 at Colorado State. This was going to be a good one. Last year, it was kind of unexpectedly one of the best games of the season. I mean, there was a lot of hype early in the Colorado last year. I think that game it went into like triple overtime. I think if I remember correctly,
I think it was 2 or 3 overtimes. Yeah,
it was really physical, a lot of scoring. It was just exciting. The fans were engaged. That one, I guess, was in Colorado. I think Colorado was also they were a pretty big favorite. I think it might have been more than 7 actually last year.
20 or 21, I think it was.
Yeah, it was a pretty heavy favorite, and certainly a rivalry. I didn't really start following it until all the media attention kind of surrounded it. But I'm hearing a lot about this game. Colorado -7. I'd love for Colorado State to win. I mean, I really would. The over/under is set at 58.5. I'm not sure if they have what it takes. Man, I hate to do it. I might even lean Colorado here, but it is in Colorado State. The total 58.5. It is under the lights. Regardless, it'll be something to watch in a weaker slate of college football this week. What are you thinking of this one?
I agree with your point from last year. I think this was one of the most entertaining games. I remember staying up till 1:30, 2 a.m. watching this game and couldn't take my eyes off of it. So I'm hoping we get the same here. I like Colorado State in this game. I think we talked about it. Maybe I'm selling too much of Colorado. They still have some nice playmakers on the outside. Colorado State does have a key injury to a really good wide receiver, one of the best in the group of 5. So I'm going to monitor that. In place anything yet, but he is a big part of their offense. So if he's ready to go, might lock it in. If not, might wait. Maybe this number will jump up a little bit. But you said it. These teams have bad blood. That game was close last year. It was tight. I think Colorado State could do the same now this year. Both teams are very similar. I think Colorado State's kind of similar. They got blown up by Texas, but again, we saw how good Texas was week 1. I like their coach, Colorado State. I think you keep him close in this game. So I'd like a little bit more, but I got to wait on that injury with the wide receiver. But yeah, I'm probably going to play Colorado State +7 to go into the game. And if I see they can kind of control it and maybe they're dominating Colorado's bad offensive line, might jump on a live money line there just to point out there.
Yeah, no, it should be a good one on Saturday night, also in prime time. Close it out with Central Florida going to TCU. This one, the total set at 61.5. UCF 2.5-point favorite. UCF second year in the Big 12. TCU, obviously, the big national championship run just 2 short years ago. A little bit disappointing last year. All of a sudden, though, if you're one of these teams, you're thinking the Big 12 is practically wide open. Both teams 2-0. Both teams, honestly, the offenses have kind of looked okay here early in the season. And honestly, with the questions in the Big 12, if you're one of these teams, you're thinking, why not us? And why not, winner of this? All of a sudden, you really have a shot to make some noise in the Big 12. UCF laying 2.5 going to TCU. What are you thinking in this one?
Yeah, it's a good point. I think whoever wins this game could really springboard and get some momentum going into the Big 12 schedule. But like you said, we called in the preseason pod, the Big 12 will be wide open. I think it's even more open than we thought. There could be even more teams. The top teams aren't looking as good. So a lot of chaos could be ensuing here in the Big 12. This was one of my sleeper teams going into the year, UCF. This is a good spot for them. I like them. I was selling TCU a little bit early on in the year. Only laying, they were +2.5 when it first opened up. Now swung all the way, so definitely a lot of money on UCF here. But yeah, I'm really high on UCF. I think this could be a nice coming out party for them. Primetime games, 7:30. I think we could really see how good this team is. Hopefully they play at that level. But yeah, give me UCF in this game as one of my stronger plays of the weekend.
I like it. Central Florida, national champions, Central Florida, just a few short years ago. So that's kind of our slate that we had outlined. Not a lot of other good ones. I'm kind of just scrolling through here to make sure we didn't miss anything crazy, but just not a strong slate. Should be fun, though. A lot of fun games. Colorado State, Alabama, Wisconsin. There's certainly some games and, most importantly, some money to be made. So I guess we'll get right into it. Week 3 bets. Mr. Paisley, what are some of your plays of the week?
Yeah, I'm going to kick us off on Friday night, the Arizona-Kansas State game. We touched on it. I'm going to go over 59.5. I think both these offenses have some really big advantages against some of these defenses. I think Arizona's defense gave up, I think it was like 28 to New Mexico State, who was pretty terrible in that first game of the year. And when I just mentioned K-State early on the pod, how they struggle against Tulane, who doesn't really have a great offense, giving up chunk play after chunk play. They put up a decent number on the board in that game. So I think this total is a touch low. I could see this definitely in the mid to high 60s. So this will be a fun one. Sit down, hope for a lot of points. But I love the over. This might be maybe a lock. We'll see. But this is a really, really strong play. I really like this one.
I need Arizona to win this game, Jared, for my preseason Big 12 pick. So I guess it is a non-con game, actually, now that I think about that. But still big opportunity, and I like it. Over 59.5 for Mr. Paisley. They're in the Big 12 Friday night game. I'm going to kick us off with just an easier one from my mind. Alabama, minus 16, Wisconsin. I know Alabama struggled against South Florida. We talked about that a little bit. But Wisconsin, I just don't think is a good team. And I'd love if this gets down to like 15 or 14, maybe even 13.5. I know that would be great, but I just think Alabama has a chance to just go in there and kind of turn on the Jets. And honestly, the last few seasons, it's felt like some of my money's been made on some of these SEC schools that kind of struggle. And then they come out and they just go out and bully a team that is outmatched for 4 quarters. And nothing against Wisconsin. I just don't think they have what it takes to just win this game or really keep it close. Reminds me a little bit of just the Georgia-Clemson vibe week 1 when that spread was kind of close. I really love Georgia. I'm kind of feeling the same thing here. I just think Alabama could really pull away here in the second half and win this thing by, minimum 3 touchdowns, maybe 4.
Yeah, I could see a blowout for sure. And I mentioned it earlier in the pod. I'd play Alabama. But yeah, I think this could get ugly. Hopefully for our pocket's sake, it does. What happened to Tyler Van Dyke? Everyone forgets about him. He lit it up at Miami that one year. That was bad the next year. Had a couple injuries. Apparently doesn't look too healthy now this year. Now Wisconsin. Kind of a forgotten name, but he was like the big it quarterback, like right up with some of these guys that are in the NFL, and then he didn't go to the draft. What's going on with him? But yeah, so a lot of questions with Wisconsin there. I'm going to go my second pick. Hate to do it with all the Illinois praise we've been given this week, but I think this could be a big letdown spot for Illinois after rushing the field against Kansas. Now you got a Central Michigan team from the MAC coming in now to your place, and now you got to get up again and win by a big margin. Give me Central Michigan plus 18.5. This was 21-20 that I got earlier in the week. Now dipped down 18.5, so a little bit of money on Central Michigan, but this is more just a direct play on Illinois maybe being a little too full of themselves after that huge football win against Kansas the field. So just a little play against Illinois.
It's probably a good pick. We see it a lot that teams get big wins and the next week they kind of just go out and lay an egg and sometimes just lose outright. And we see it a lot. The Northern Illinois coach too, just this past week was talking about that, getting his team back in the gear, even though they're on the bye. But it is when you get a huge win, it's always the next week is always interesting, fun to watch. A lot of chances for money to be made. So like the pick there, CMU plus 18.5. My pick sticking in the SEC, going with Florida with 3.5 against A&M. I think I picked Florida against Miami, so disaster pick there, but I feel good about this one. I think I'm back on the train. I think they're gonna cover here at home. A lot of questions with the A&M offense. If Florida could just, let's get a nice low scoring, keep it close, field goal type of game either way. Give me the Gators plus 3.5.
I like it. I think the Florida Gators head coach definitely fighting for his job, so maybe got a little sense of urgency there. Definitely got to get some wins to keep his job afloat there. I'm going to move to a G5 game. I'm going to go App State minus 2.5 against Eastern Carolina. I don't know if people are watching the App State game against Clemson last weekend, but that game was ugly and over with in a split. So Clemson crushed them by 40 points. But I think this is more, I think, just a little overreaction in the market. I think App State is one of the better group of 5 teams. They'll be on the road here at East Carolina, but I think this is a little bit of an overreaction, kind of like some of these teams we talked about that play a really good team and get blown out. All right, was it the team was just that good, or are you just that bad? I think in that case, I think Clemson just had their number after that embarrassing performance against Georgia. So give me App State on the road lane underneath a field goal there. Let's go Mountaineers.
Yeah, I like this pick a lot. And I was on App State last week, and I think most people were. And that should have been my first red flag, because every time I know we're in a pool, Jared and I just was looking at these top 25 games, and almost everybody had App State with 16.5. And I'm just like, this is going to end poorly. And it did. And I need to get better at that. And I hate changing my mind on picks. Once I like a pick, I hate to flip flop and leave. But I should have gotten off App State when that became clear. But yeah, new week. I think, I like the pick now, -2.5 after last week. And I'm with you on that one. I'm going to talk about Colorado State. I'm going the over just because of what happened last year. It just seems like these teams just don't play defense. And I just think there's going to be a lot of points, simple as that. I've been kind of higher on the unders so far early in the season. I think I'm like 4-2 on my unders. But I don't know. I'm feeling we're going to get a lot of points in this one. I think, maybe a 35 type game again. Maybe we get overtime, maybe not. But I just think we're going to get a lot of offense. Hopefully there's a lot of scoring in the first half, just so, we don't have to sweat this one out. But I feel pretty good about it. I think right now I have it at 58.5. So yeah, that's my third pick over in the Colorado State game.
Yeah, any Colorado over the rest of the year, I will not fault you. The offense is good, defense is terrible. They like to pass a lot, like we talked about last week. So definitely won't fault you there for an over in the Colorado game. And then lastly, we touched on this a little bit, but I'm going to go UCF -2.5. Just very quickly, I think they might have one of the best rushing attacks in the country collectively with the KJ Jefferson at quarterback, 2 really good running backs, good offensive line. I think hopefully they put that on display for the whole world to see. This weekend, the defense needs to get a couple stops. I do worry about their secondary, but I don't know if TCU can exploit that. So give me UCF -2.
I love it. I'm on that pick. I love anytime we have a chance to bet on the national champion UCF Knights, I'm for it. So great pick there. Let's see. I'll close it out. We each got 4 midweek Thursday. I'm going to go Tennessee laying 49. Paisley, I know the winner of the week was the MAC for you, but that ends this week. Tennessee has just been scoring, and they're playing Kent State, who I don't think is as good as Bowling Green or as good as Northern Illinois. Tennessee just beat North Carolina State 51-10. They have the best quarterback in the country, if not one of the best. They beat Chattanooga 69-3. All right, I know that's not impressive, but Tennessee could score, and I don't see any way Kent State keeps Tennessee under 49. So I think Tennessee's just going to cover this thing themselves and blow them out. I think they'll 49-0 shutout would probably get there. Hope maybe maybe it's 56-3, whatever. The 49 covers there. But yeah, I'm just going to stick with Tennessee. Pick a heavy favorite. I think I could see this one being one of those crazy, 60-3 type games. So give me Tennessee -49 points as my 4th pick.
Yeah, one note on that. Kent State is terrible. They are so bad. I was reading an article. They ranked every team in the country, and it was Temple and Kent State tied for last in the country. So they are with Temple, who is also atrocious. So keep that in mind when you're betting. Some of these teams are this bad. So the MAC is back. They are a joke of a program right now. Definitely the worst, maybe the worst in the country.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're just over an hour. Not bad. We've been trying to get these under an hour, but it is what it is. Just over will do. One more thing that we're going to introduce to the P&B College Football Podcast here as we get going here in 2024. We're going to introduce a Bets of the Week segment. I don't know if this will work or not. We need some engagement on this, or we'll just make them up ourselves. But feel free to send us any bet that you hit for the previous week. So we're going into week 4. So when we do this thing next Thursday, send us your bet from week 3 that you hit. So any just previous bet that you hit, that's a cool winner, either a big, parlay win or an underdog, something plus odds or whatever. Maybe it's a live bet, just an obscure win. And you will be have the chance to be recognized as the bet of the week. We're going to close out every show. Just as an example, we have Evan from Arizona who hit a live bet week 1. It was it was Furman plus 76.5. Live bet it, hit it. That's where you can make your money. Live bet it, Furman plus 76.5. So congratulations to Evan in Phoenix on the big win. Was the I guess we'll give him the week 1 and week 2 bet of the week, just because it was so interesting and we don't have a week 2. So feel free, DM us, put it in the comments, send us any bet that you hit, and it'll be interesting. And I think there was one more announcement, Mr. Paisley, if you'd like to let the viewers know.
Yeah, we're a bunch of new segments. We're getting a lot of great feedback from our wonderful listeners and viewers at home. And this was also sent in from another viewer. Was looking for a parlay of the week. People love betting, a little bit to win a lot with some of these parlays. So we thought, hey, let's try and give the people what they want. Let's give them a little parlay of the week. We'll post it on the page Saturday morning as well. But we'll give it out first here on the podcast. But we're going to do some underdog money lines. So me and Case will each pick one underdog money line, parlay them together to get a nice little payout. So for this week, I will be rolling with the FIU Panthers against FAU. This is more a sell on FAU. I think they are pretty terrible. Their quarterback, last name Fancher, no relation to our good friend Tyler Fancher, but he is pretty terrible. Our friend Tyler Fancher might be better at quarterback than this quarterback at FAU. He is terrible. So we're going to keep fading them, FIU. I think they could be a sneaky good team in Conference USA this year, maybe middle of the pack. So give me them in the big state, big rivalry state of Florida. Give me Florida International plus 164 on the money line. Case, who will we parlaying this with?
I'm sticking in the state. It's not Florida International. Also, I'm going with the Gators of Florida to outright knock off Texas A&M. Florida's at home. Like you said, their coach is fighting for his job. Florida, you got to win this one. Not for me, but for the fans of PB betting. Plus 136. We need the Gators. We need the state of Florida. Paisley, that's plus 523 on the parlay odds here, is the first official parlay of the week. Florida and FIU plus 523. It's a lot of money to be made.
Yeah, via DraftKings, official sportsbook, not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor.
But we'll get them one day. Yeah, just give you guys a little something, a little parlay maybe we could add on to our portfolio here. So let's hope it catches here in the first week.
That's right. All right, well, that's a wrap. Paisley, you did it. You got through the week with the Notre Dame Mel, so congratulations on that. It's all over. Just want to, I guess, keep watching the podcast. Feel free to retweet, engage with us, send us your bet of the week if you hit one from this week that we could nominate you for next week and shout you out on the channel. Thank you to LouTube, Uncle Lou there on YouTube. Any listener from there, we appreciate you joining our show. We love if you engage with us, send us your picks, retweet our content, and feel free to ask us any questions. We're just doing our best here as we get the season kicked off. Still above 50% win rate through 2 weeks. So hopefully we'll keep that up. And last thing I'll just say is stay tuned Saturday morning. We'll have our full slate picks posted right here on Twitter, hopefully by 9 a.m. And should be another fun week. Week 3 college football is here.